So I've been thinking, in my time playing Persona, social links or confidants are features in the game that I enjoy. There's just something special about conversing with these characters and making choices and choosing the correct dialogue, and it's really dependent on how the character is portrayed through their story, and it tests you as the player in understanding and empathizing with them. And that's what makes this game special to me, and I love it. Unless you guys actually use mods or search up the answers for more social link points, then never mind. There are so many unique characters within the Major Arcana set, with some leaving a memorable impression to me that I will forever cherish in my heart. Or there are straight up characters I just do not remember for the life of me. So to educate you guys, what are Arcanas? Well, to put it simply, Arcanas represent an archetype of a person, where their stories primarily explore one's understanding and awareness of oneself and their place in the world. So I have 3 characters that I found forgettable from the 3 mainline games, and I thought it'd be interesting to look into these social links because during my first playthrough I personally forgot their existence and never even bothered to rank them up. So maybe I missed out on something special from these guys. So starting with Persona 3.
I never felt like
Excuse my pronunciations for these names, by the way. Keisuke Hiraga. You meet this guy in the art club and, you know, he's a nice person when we're introduced to him. He has an optimistic attitude in making changes and encouraging the members since he is the club leader. And Keisuke is a 3rd year student, so he also has entrance exams to focus on because his plan is to study to become a doctor. And that's cool and all, until the fact that his social link story begins around 4 months prior to first meeting him, and that's when he's just erased from my brain. Probably because there are just better characters to hang out with instead of this guy. The dilemma is, Keisuke loves art and he is talented, and what enforces this is his painting that was chosen for a big contest. But when Keisuke tells his father, he dismisses it as a waste of time. Instead, he should just be focusing on his studies. Now that's a pretty solid foundation for where the story is going. We then encounter moments where people in the school are just feeling ill or in physical pain every time Keisuke is around. Like, really? Keisuke, help, someone collapsed! Oh no, another has! Oh no, not again, where's Keisuke? If someone isn't feeling well, he always tries to figure out what's wrong. But apparently, all this knowledge of symptoms is common sense. After all, him being the son of a doctor doesn't have anything to do with it.
I was worried I'd come down with the flu or something.
In that case, I can do a more thorough check. Could you remove your shirt? Also, open your mouth and stick out your tongue.
That's okay.
Now the issue with this social link is that his story can't really be expanded any further. Like, the foundation has potential to show off strong themes, and well, it does in a way. Keisuke is torn between 2 futures, following his dream of art or fulfilling family expectations as a doctor. He doubts himself constantly, unsure whether his decisions are truly his own or influenced by his father, and this keeps happening when the social link keeps progressing. The only time this repetition actually stops is when a box falls onto Makoto, and Keisuke mentions his dad's story.
When I was younger, my dad told me a sad story about how he lost a good friend. He just collapsed one day, even though they played together all the time. Seeing you lying there, I understood how my dad must have felt losing someone he was so close to.
As much as I can say that this is sad and reflects onto the main theme of Persona 3, I think this would have been done so much better if we actually got to see Keisuke argue with his father in this link. And if his father mentioned that story in the moment, that would probably make me tear up. So despite all this, Keisuke repeatedly shows a natural instinct for caring about others. In the resolution of things, he does decide on doing medicine, but for himself, and not to please his father. He does end up failing his entrance exam, but he embraces it as his first real setback and promises to work harder in becoming a doctor on his own terms. So, moral of the story? I guess find your own path in your own way, despite what other people tell you? Atlas was definitely cooking something for his story, they just didn't bother to address the hardships and outcome of his choices. Since his arcana is fortune, it symbolizes turning points and the cycles of change. And that's pretty much the theme his story goes through. And his story explores relatable struggles like parental expectations, career choice, and identity, which makes it grounded and realistic, but narratively, this really depends on how you see it. Here's a good social link that values realism, and I respect how realistic the message is, that not every journey ends in triumph. Even when Keisuke fails his exam, he still manages to keep going. It's still meaningful, but I mean, I still like it. It's not the strongest message I've ever heard, but it's encouraging. So was he worth skipping? Yeah, he kinda was. Like, why couldn't they just move the conflict forward? The story kind of keeps looping to just fill in the gaps of the social link levels between 4 to 7. Like, I want to be an artist, but maybe I should be a doctor, but that would be doing what my dad wants. But I don't want to abandon art because people look up to me. Like, bro, we get it. I definitely understand why he would be forgettable now. It's a strong social link in concept, but the execution suffers from repetition. Thematically though, it's still a realistic portrayal of what it feels like to be young. So now let's move on to Persona 4. This one's a bit funny to me, since Persona 4 is my first ever game in actually learning how to play it, and the first time I actually learned how social links work, such as how arcanas are linked to fusing. A character I never had the chance to spend time with the most was the Temperance Arcana, Eri Minami. So after being told that you can take part-time jobs to increase social stats, the only job available was the daycare in the beginning, and I was actually immediately hooked onto her story. When you realize there is one kid remaining who hasn't been picked up by their parent, Eri shows up late to pick him up, but the boy named Yuta-kun says whatever and runs off. She says that Yuta may cause trouble again, so she thanks you for taking care of him. A supervisor in the daycare also says that Yuta is full of energy, but once Eri arrives, the kid acts totally different, because she is his stepmother, so I guess it can't be helped. Now this character is forgettable because the limited availability, like you can only rank her up taking the daycare job on specific weekdays on Mondays and Fridays, and that already puts her to be less prioritized because social links like your party members who are available at that time actually benefit you when you fight in dungeons, and Eri's link only gives you Persona Fusion benefits, so I really just could not be bothered to stay for her link. But honestly though, Eri's story is actually underrated. She's a stepmother that takes care of Yuta and is newly married into a family where her husband is absent on business, and she's left to raise a child who doesn't accept her. Yuta resents her presence, and Eri in turn feels like an outsider forced into a role she wasn't prepared for. She hides her insecurities behind excuses like mentioning fate or it can't be helped, convincing herself that their bond could never be real because they're not blood related.
That's why I'm not sure how to act around him. I'm not his mom, but yet I kinda am. I don't know how he feels about me. There are times when I think he hates me. I wish I knew how he truly felt about me.
So as the social link goes on, both Yuta and Eri do eventually start to open up. Yuta shows that he does care, and Eri realizes she was blind to his true nature because of her own fear of rejection, and by the end, instead of running away, Eri resolves to slowly build a real relationship with Yuta, and they decide to try becoming a family together. I prefer this over Keisuke's social link because she undergoes realistic family struggles and it's grounded in a very human way in tackling neglect, gossip, and the fear of rejection. It's also interesting that we even grasp a perspective from Yuta's point of view as well, because he feels abandoned and unwanted and assumes that every scolding and awkward silence they have means Eri doesn't care about him, when really Eri is just afraid of messing up, so all of this was a misunderstanding.
I'm not surprised though. Rotten little kids always have moms like you. So, I guess the real failure here would be you as a mother.
The thing is, kids often assume they're the problem when parents are distant. They may act out as confused and would want to feel seen and accepted, and it shows how children process family issues differently from adults. And Yuta is actually a good kid that just doesn't know how to express himself properly for his age. Since she is the Temperance Arcana, it represents harmony, patience, and balance. With her being hesitant and overwhelmed in raising a child like Yuta, she learns that bonds are built slowly and deliberately in becoming a real family, and that's some genuine, grounded development. It's kind of a similar outcome to Dejima and Nanako, where you can't run from relationships if you want to grow. So the moral of the story is choosing to face relationships rather than running from them. I can really sympathize with the pain she faces. I mean, I don't have to be a mother adopting a child to know this, but it's about being misunderstood and self-doubting yourself. And that's what I love about Persona 4's main theme. I really resonate with its message about how true bonds being formed are by seeing others for who they really are. And in Eri's case, love and family aren't automatic because they require time, patience, and mutual effort, which is thematically relevant to this game specifically. So yeah, I've actually misunderstood this link. She has a good story, but probably not the most hard-hitting for everyone, but I personally think she's kinda slept on and it definitely should have some recognition. She's often considered forgettable not because of the quality of her story, it's her accessibility during the days that restrict her social link in being available while the pacing of the main game is going on. And I guess I just tend to not do the daycare job as often. I also did a bit of research online where people also said how her link was grindy because you have to keep going back to the daycare until you trigger the right event for her story to happen, so it just makes her an easy social link to skip. Now onto Persona 5. I honestly thought this game would be the hardest in maxing out all the social links, since this game contains so many activities to do and I was so overwhelmed with the many locations you can visit to meet other characters. But looking back now, since confidants give you benefits when you hang out with them, and with Royal including the third semester, this makes maxing every confidant doable if you plan ahead. However, the Tower Arcana in this game is the most forgettable to me. Heck, I could not recall this person's name. Shinya Oda. I don't even know if I've ever hung out with him in my first playthrough, because this guy happens to exist during the late games because his abilities are actually pretty strong. In Persona 5 I didn't really hang out with confidants for the benefits, so that's probably why I just overlooked him. But after going through his confidant, it's a very simple story. There's nothing over dramatic or insane, it's just okay. Like, honestly, there really isn't much deep things to talk about. Like, you meet him in the arcade and his confidant starts with him being known as the King of Gunabout, a kid who thinks that winning is everything and lashes out whenever things don't go his way. His worldview comes straight from home, where his mother pressures him constantly, convinced that weakness only invites cruelty. Because of this, Shinya treats school bullying like a literal battlefield, framing it as his war with his classmates. So this already makes him come across as arrogant and foul-mouthed, but he's a kid, so it's whatever. It really can't be helped since his mother's the only role model he is influenced by, but underneath he's just lonely and desperate for someone to look up to, which is why he latches onto the Phantom Thieves. The turning point comes when Shinya is forced to face real consequences, like where he steals lunch money to prove he is stronger, only to realize he's the bad person, and him losing a game repeatedly to a pro gamer that humbles him to show that strength isn't the same as winning. Then there's that climax where Shinya's mother confronts Joker, blaming him for her son's behavior. And so Shinya begs the Phantom Thieves to change her heart, and after her heart is changed, she apologizes and admits her mistakes to him, which allows Shinya to finally see that love and kindness matter more than domination. Yay, Phantom Thieves, they saved the day, yeah, I love the Phantom Thieves. By the end of the story, Shinya reframes what it means to be strong. He acknowledges that losing can be a beginning rather than an end, and that protecting others is more important than crushing them. He even makes amends with the classmates he bullied and thanks Joker for being like an older brother who told him what real strength looks like, which is probably the only wholesome thing I picked up, since it is sad that Shinya has never had someone to vent his issues with.
I'll continue to do my best. Good luck.
But yeah, this link is just whatever, honestly. It's kinda weak and simple. It reinforces Persona 5's themes with the dangers of adults projecting their warped values onto kids and the importance of finding strength through compassion instead of control. As the Tower Arcana, it symbolizes destruction and the collapse of a false foundation. Shinya's arc is built upon a child's view of strength, that winning makes you strong and losing makes you weak. I don't feel much guilt leaving this confidant out, and it makes sense why he would be forgettable.
You bastard!
The moral of the story is that winning isn't everything, and losing can be a beginning, not an end. I think I just found it interesting how they integrated gaming metaphorically as a way to learn about behavior and growth, but it really is a straightforward message. Shinya's story is definitely forgettable overall, especially on how repetitive the story goes with his mother being a bad influence, and it just lacks emotional climax when the thieves resolve the problem when individuals become out of control. So really, it's a simple moral about a kid slowly learning empathy. So after all this, I learned that a reason that can make a social link forgettable usually comes down to a mix of their character design, narrative, and availability. These forgettable social links may not start with a dramatic or intriguing scenario. If the opening events feel slow or mundane, players may not feel invested enough to keep visiting them, even if the payoff later is good. A lot of players choose links based on the confidant's abilities or persona fusions, or they genuinely just like the character based on their appearance and voice. So next time you guys play a Persona game, maybe give a character a chance even though you may find them uninteresting. Their payoff may not be worth it in the end, depending on how their message resonates with you, but as long as you guys gave your effort in understanding who they truly are, you'll definitely know not to judge a book by its cover. While I found these social links or confidants considered forgettable, they will in some way always have something to offer. Anyway, let me know if I've forgotten anyone or social links that you guys forgot about.